Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Callie, and today I am going to do a wrap-up of our Fall Time Readathon. So these are going to be all the books that I read in the month of October for our readathon. If you missed our readathon, we do plan on doing it every year in the month of October. So this was a very fun experiment for all of us. So I would say that it was very successful. I read in total, I had 12 books in total. And my average for months usually ranges from about 10 to 12, so I was about right on par. So I'm just going to get into the books, what prompt they fulfilled. A couple of them fulfill a few different prompts. So I think I hit every single prompt with these 12 books, except for the Read a 13th book, which unfortunately I didn't end up doing, so is what it is. So first I picked up Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This was my reread and read a retelling and read a book that BookTube hates. So this fulfilled a few things. I decided to reread Throne of Glass because I kept up with it last year and then had to wait for Kingdom of Ash, and I've been wanting to do a full reread just of the entire series. And I'm really glad that I did, because the amount of foreshadowing that Sarah J. Maas has in these early books is ridiculous. There were so many times where I was reading and I was like, oh my god, that doesn't even come up until the sixth book, or it's not even mentioned until the finale. So I found that to be really fun, that I was able to catch these things. So I gave it 5 stars. I think the first time I read it, I gave it 4 stars because it is a little info dumpy, but now that I know and I'm so familiar with this world, I didn't feel that way. All of that information felt so important, and it is important if you've read this or reread it. So highly, highly recommend. Throne of Glass is one of my favorite series, and I know that a lot of people, it's a hit or a miss for a lot of people, but I love this. And for the retelling part, if you don't know, Throne of Glass is a very loose retelling of Cinderella. Sarah J. Maas mentioned in an interview that her inspiration for Throne of Glass was, what if Cinderella went to the ball not to marry the prince, but to kill him? And thus, this beauty was born. So always highly recommend Throne of Glass. I love it. It's one of those books where I can see myself constantly rereading it over the years, kind of like Harry Potter. So after Throne of Glass, I struggled a little bit because I have Crown of Midnight on my TBR, and I sort of go into this rabbit hole with series like this where I'll just want to read the entire series. So I decided to pick up not Crown of Midnight. I picked up The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. This was my owl crate for September, so I have the fun white background instead of the black one. I gave this 4 stars. So this follows a girl who is a grave digger, and she basically, one of her jobs as a grave digger, besides digging graves, is to deal with bone houses. And these bone houses are basically corpses that have reanimated and come and cause a bunch of mischief and kill people. So one of her jobs is to go and dispose of these bone houses. And the bone houses have been just sort of like a nuisance. They're like flies, up until a stranger comes to her town and the bone houses start veering. I'm sorry, I keep looking out because it's snowing, and it's snowing and it's October and I'm unhappy, but whatever. So the stranger comes to her town and the bone houses start veering much further than what they have in the past. Usually they've stuck to this forest, but now they start coming out, they're coming into town, they're causing way more issues. So our main character, Rin, and the new stranger friend have to go into the forest to figure out why these bone houses, A, exist, why are they veering further and further from the forest, what's making them more brazen, and essentially how to stop these bone houses. So it was kind of very zombie-esque. I loved the atmosphere. It was so cool. Very whimsical and magical, and This is only a standalone, and I was really impressed with how everything tied up together. There were no loose ends that I have an itch to read a sequel. So overall, this was really fun. Plus, one of the main characters is an undead goat, and it's glorious, and I love it. This one was fun. This one met the goal of read a book with a spooky cover. So we have our nice little skull here that I thought counted. So next, I decided to pick up one of the contemporaries on my list, and that is Broken Things by Lauren Oliver. This one fulfilled the read a mystery / thriller, and I didn't like it. I gave this a 2.5. So this follows two girls who, when they were 13, their third friend went missing and was found killed. And throughout their entire lives, they have been blamed for this murder. So this follows the girls 5 years after those events. They've decided to come back to the town and they are trying to unravel who actually killed their friend. This had such potential because it was woven in with this lore of a story that these girls wrote and like based their work off of that was very fairy tale and creepy and Demon King kind of esque. And it had nothing to do with the ending, and I was really disappointed with the ending. The first 3/4 of the book I would give like a 3.5 or 4 star. The ending just ruined it so much. I was so angry. If you want to see my like full reaction right after I finish this book, check out my reading vlog. But oh my god, I was just so, it angers me. So I had such high hopes, and reading it I was really excited. And the reveal was stupid, and I hated it. So next I read Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin, and this fulfilled a book about witches as well as spooky cover prompt, and I give this book 5 stars. I love this book so much. Brittany and I actually decided we love this book so much that we're doing a book talk on it, and I believe that is going to be the next video. So look out for that. But I gave this book 5 stars. This follows a girl named Lou who is a witch on the run from her coven. And then we follow Reed, who is a witch hunter. And through events that happen in the book, they end up having to get married and deal with each other. So it kind of plays on the fake dating trope, but it's a marriage. And it's really very atmospheric, very whimsical. The magic is really fun. The banter in this, holy banter. This is a new adult book. It is not YA, so be warned of that, which basically means 17 and older. So I would highly recommend this book. It is so good. You can hear more of our thoughts in the next video because it's beautiful and I love it oh so much. So the next book that I picked up was Enchantee by Gita Trelease. I gave this book 3 stars. So this one was supposed to be my retelling book, and it kind of is. So I thought it was a retelling of Les Mis with magic, but it's actually a retelling of Bastille Day with magic. So kind of still a retelling. I'm gonna count it. But we followed this girl who has little bits of magic where she can turn like nails into coins, but only for a little bit. And she figures out how to boost up her magic, to change how she looks, to start gambling and win her family some money because her brother steals all of their money and runs away and drinks it all basically. We follow Camille and trying to save her family, and a lot of conspiracies start to unravel as she starts to be in the court, and this is leading up to Bastille Day, which if you know anything about French history, they didn't like aristocrats at that time at all. So we have like Marie Antoinette is in this a little bit, and it was very interesting. I really liked, it was very flowery writing, and I really liked that aspect, but it was a little all over the place. There were several plots happening at the same time, which I didn't really care for. It did end kind of nicely with a nice little bow. I did really like the reveal of our like bad guy and how his plans go way back to like the beginning. I found that to be really cool, and I think that's where the author tried to tie up all of these different plots, was tie it to this one person, which was fine. I just thought it was a little loose, and but I still did enjoy it. I love French history, did love the history in this and the magic. I found it really fun. So the next book I picked up was Find Me, and this was supposed to be my like 13th book, and it also has the red, orange, and little bits of yellow, and it's a sequel. And I read, technically I'm counting this as I read it with a hot beverage, but all of them I read with a hot beverage. So this is books 4.5 and 5.5 of the Shatter Me series. So these are these are just like two novellas put into one bind up, and I gave these 4 stars. I found the first one, Shadow Me, to be a little bit, it didn't get, when I read a novella, I expect to get other information or new information. And it was basically a different character's point of view of a same scene that I had seen already in a previous book. But Reveal Me revealed a lot. So both these books are in Kenji's point of view in the Shatter Me series, which we've never gotten. We've only really gotten our main 2 characters' point of views in the larger books. So I was really excited to read from Kenji's point of view, and I did really enjoy it. So the next book I picked up was You by Caroline Kepnes. This I decided to pick up because I watched the Netflix series a couple months ago, and it was thoroughly creepy. And so this follows, it's weirdly written. It's got second person and first person. So this guy, Joe, is basically talking to you as if he's stalking you, and it felt like he was stalking you. So Joe meets a girl at the bookshop where he works, and naturally, from the credit card she uses, looks her up on social media and begins stalking her to have a chance encounter. So we follow Joe in this like creepy, very weird thriller, I guess. This book met the read a book about a thing that scares you, and the use of social media and all the things that like Joe was able to glean information from just from her social media, like Twitters and Facebooks and Instagrams, was a little creepy, a little scary. So it was, I don't know, that's really the only way I can describe this book. I gave it 4 stars because it was so immersive. I was creeped out. I felt like Joe was talking to me or about me while he was describing everything, and it was super creepy, a little cringy, but not in a bad way. So I'm interested to see where this series goes. I know that there is a sequel called Hidden Bodies. I'm not really sure where that one's gonna go because this one didn't really leave on a cliffhanger. I felt like it tied up pretty nicely, but we shall see when I read the sequel. So the next book that I read was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. We did a book talk on Halloween about the book 2 movie review, so you can see more of my thoughts there. I always give Harry Potter books 5 stars. I reread them every year, so I just love going back to the world. It's always just a good time. So Harry Potter counted for a couple of different things. A sequel with red, yellow, and orange on the cover, reread a book, and I believe those are the only 2 that this one counted for. So next I read our group book, which was The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. I gave this one 3.5. I found the writing very whimsical and very atmospheric, very immersive to the darker fairy tale world, more like the actual Brothers Grimm opposed to the Disney version of fairy tales, which I really enjoyed. However, I found the plot to be a little thin. We are doing a book talk in the beginning of November, so look out for more of our thoughts and spoilers for that. The next book I picked up was The Near Witch by V.E. Schwab. I love V.E. Schwab's writing. She has quickly become one of my favorite authors. So when I saw that they re-released her debut novel, I really wanted to pick it up. And I gave this a 3.5. You can tell it's a debut, which I don't mean that in a bad way, but you can just tell it's a debut. The pacing was a little weird and a little off. It basically follows a girl named Lexi who lives in the town of Near, and when a stranger comes to visit, all of the children start to just mysteriously go missing, and she is trying to figure out if it's the stranger's fault, if the tale of the Near Witch is actually true, if it's witch's fault, or if it's something even more nefarious. So this was really fun. It was a little predictable, but I did really enjoy I still really love her writing style, and I will continue to read V.E. Schwab. So this read a book in a woodsy environment. So Near is surrounded by woods, and there's, a nice little tree there. Plus, it's a book about witches. Next book that I picked up was Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. This is the sequel to Throne of Glass, and this is where I mainly counted the read a sequel with red, orange, and yellow on the cover. I gave this a 4-star. I just think that I still love this book. We continue on Selena's adventures, which I really enjoy. I just think that this one is very similar to like Chamber of Secrets. It's more world building opposed to plot building. There is a little bit of plot towards the end. We get the biggest reveal, I think, in this book, at the end of this book, which is my favorite reveal. But there are aspects of this book that make it not my favorite in the entire series. And the last book that I picked up is The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. It's also known as The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I don't know. There's half the versions say 7, the other half say 7.5. I really have no idea. So this was the last book that I picked up. This was read a mystery / thriller and read a book out of my comfort zone. I don't read a lot of adult mysteries, if any. I read more thrillers. So this one was a bit out of my comfort zone, and it was very confusing, but in a good way. It wasn't done where I was agitated the entire time. Whenever I get confused in a book, sometimes I get agitated because I feel like there's information missing or we just haven't been given enough. But in this book, so we follow a guy named Aiden who has no memory of his past life, and he basically has 8 days to figure out who kills Evelyn Hardcastle. So basically, every morning, he wakes up in a different body with the previous memory of his previous bodies. So he's repeating the same day over and over, where at the end, Evelyn Hardcastle is killed. And he has 8 days to figure out. And if he doesn't by those 8 days, he starts the cycle over with no memory. So this was very weirdly, it's weird to describe, but it was very well done. So our main character has no information, which means we have no information. But he was just, seeing him agitated made me less agitated and more excited to learn the information. So when he's in each body, we also see his other selves throughout the day because they're stuck in this manor, very Downton Abbey, Great Gatsby-ish. As you can tell by the cover, very Great Gatsby. We just have to slowly learn this information, and his future selves are being like, you gotta be careful, dude. Like, stuff gets real, and like when you're only on day 2 and your day 7 is telling you that, you're just like, I don't know what to do, panic. So it's very interesting, and it was very confusing, at least until the last 100 pages. And usually I hate drawn out reveals, but this one was done really well. So the reveal of who killed Evelyn Hardcastle is about 100 pages long, but it is done so well that I flew through it like it was 15 pages. I just needed more. There were so many twists and turns. I think the only issue I had with this book is we didn't have any suspects. I had which maybe that's just me because I don't read a lot of mysteries, but I had no idea who it could be. There was one suspect-ish, very loose suspect throughout, but I felt like with a mystery, I should have been able to be like, oh, maybe it could be this person for this reason. Like, there were never multiple suspects, which maybe I watched too many mystery movies or TV shows, but once the reveal hit, even I was like, huh, interesting. Didn't see that coming. So I think this book was really well done. So I gave it 4 stars. So this is the last one that I read on Halloween. So I read this in a day because it was just gripping. So those are all the books that I completed for our Fall Time Readathon. For points I earned 21 points. I earned a lot of bonus points for reading books that take place in fall, as well as I read 3 sequels that have all 3 colors of red, yellow, and orange on the cover. So those are all the points that I've earned. Very excited. I had such a fun time doing this readathon, and I'm really looking forward to doing it again next year. So starting with the month of November, I am picking up Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. We read Shadow and Bone for the month of September. So I didn't put this in my readathon because it didn't fit any of the prompts. So I decided it was going to be the first book I picked up in November. So I'm very excited to continue on Alina's journey and figure out how that whole story ends. So that is all I have for you. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And all of our Instagram, Goodreads, and all that information is linked down below. So feel free to check any of those out. And I will see you guys in our next one. Bye!